Hi there, I'm Flora, a 37-year-old woman who has gone through a lot in her life. I was thinking about some of the most defining moments of my life the other day and remembered this incident. So I thought I'd share it with all of you. Let me introduce you to my husband, Phil. Phil and I share a deep love and understanding. We've always been there for each other through thick and thin. Despite the challenges we've faced, we've grown stronger together. I've never believed in the concept of a perfect marriage. There's always something that causes trouble in the relationship, you know? Well, for me, that something was Phil's mother, Mabel. Ever since I met her, I could tell Mabel didn't like me. When others were around, she acted nice and friendly, but when it was just the two of us, she would say mean things that hurt my feelings. It was draining and always made me feel really small. Mabel's words felt like sharp knives. She would often tell me that her son deserved someone better than me. She would make fun of my achievements, saying they weren't good enough. Mabel even made hurtful comments about my looks. It seemed like she enjoyed putting me down one insult at a time. All those hurtful words made me doubt myself and my place in Phil's life. I felt like I was not good enough for his love. To protect myself, I had to find ways to deal with the situation. I reminded myself that Mabel's hurtful words were because of her own issues and insecurities, and not because of anything I did wrong. I tried my best to stay calm when I was around her, even though it was difficult. I focused on the love between me and Phil and the happy moments we shared. But no matter how hard I tried to remind myself that what Mabel said wasn't true, I couldn't shake off the insecurities that began to grow within me. I really can't stand Mabel anymore. She keeps saying really hurtful things. I've been trying to tell you about it for so long, but you won't listen. I'm struggling, so please just listen to me. Come on, babe. You're just making things up again. My mom would never do anything to hurt you. You're overreacting. No, I'm not making this up. It's been going on for a long time. She makes me feel small and insults me, and it's taking a toll on my mental health. I mean, haven't you noticed how much I've changed these past few months? I know my mom. She's a kind and loving person. I can't believe you're saying these things about her. You need to stop making up stories and causing unnecessary drama. I'm not creating drama. I'm telling you how I feel and what I've been going through. Stop treating me like my feelings don't matter. Why can't you support me this one time? I just can't believe that my mom would behave like that. Maybe you're just misinterpreting things or being overly sensitive. I can't accept that my mom would be so mean. I'm not misinterpreting anything. I've suffered with her hurtful words and actions for so long. I'm not asking you to choose sides, but I need you to believe and help me. Can we please find a way to address this issue together? Babe, I love you, and you know that I'll always support you, but come on. I know my mother better than you do, and I will not support you talking so rudely about her. I don't like it. Just be a little nicer to her next time and don't read into things too much, okay? Living far away from Mabel didn't solve the problem. I couldn't avoid her forever. There was always some event or the other that required me to meet her and spend time with her. I wanted Phil to see the truth, but I had to find the right way and time to talk to him about it. He was never going to believe me, no matter how much or how hard I cried or complained. It would never reach him. He loved his mother too much to believe that she would torment me. One day, Mabel called Phil out of the blue to say that her house was being renovated and she needed a place to stay. Phil immediately offered for her to stay with us. The thing is, he never asked me what I thought about that plan. He knew how distressed his mother made me feel. Even though he didn't believe me, the least he could have done was check in with me. It hurt to think that he would make such a decision behind my back. Why did you offer Mabel our place to stay without even asking me for my opinion? Do I not have a say in what goes on in our house? Well, I didn't think I needed to ask you. She's my mom. I couldn't let her be homeless because of some feud that you guys have going on. It's not a feud. She treats me badly and never passes up on an opportunity to say something incredibly hurtful towards me. Now she's going to live with us without any say from me? It feels like you care more about her than about my feelings. Look, I know you've had issues with her, but she's still my mom. I can't just leave her without a place to stay. I thought you'd understand, especially since she's family. I do understand the importance of family, but it's also important for you to consider how I feel. I can't pretend everything's okay when she constantly treats me like crap. Babe, can we please not do this right now? I'm sorry I didn't ask you about it, but regardless of what you would have said, I would have let my mom stay here. Just deal with it for me, please. Talking to Phil only made me angrier. How could he not see what was right in front of him? I wanted to lash out and yell at him, but I knew that it would be pointless. Phil had made up his mind and there was no way I could change it. I had to do as he said and just deal with it. When Mabel arrived, she acted all nice and friendly towards Phil and me, but as soon as Phil left the room, her true colors showed. She smirked at me with a mean look in her eyes and said she would make my life miserable. She told me that she would find a way to get rid of me because she was sick and tired of me. I felt a mix of emotions, angry, scared, and frustrated. How could someone who was supposed to be family treat me so badly? How could she also so casually tell me this? I knew I had to protect myself somehow because Mabel wasn't planning on leaving anytime soon. Whenever she had the chance to bully me, she took it. It felt unbearable to think about enduring her bullying for who knows how long. I knew that I needed to expose Mabel's true nature to Phil, but I had to be careful. If I did it too soon, he might think I was trying to ruin his relationship with his mom, or that I was purposely throwing his mother on the streets when she had no place to live. So, for the next month and a half, I endured Mabel's constant bullying. She knew just how to target my insecurities and make me feel small. Her insults and belittling comments were like daggers to my self-esteem. She would mock my appearance. She would criticize the way I looked and dressed. Every choice I made seemed to be met with her disapproval, whether it was about my career, hobbies, or even the food I cooked. Mabel would find sneaky ways to hurt me and make me feel bad about myself. She would ruin important things I was working on. She would spill coffee on my important work papers or make a mess in the kitchen right before guests came over, and sometimes she would sabotage the food I spent long hours making. Then she would just stand there and laugh while I had to fix everything and face the consequences. She also liked to make fun of things I liked and enjoyed. If I told her about a book I liked, she would say it was a waste of time. When I talked about painting, she would say mean things about my skills and make me doubt myself. It seemed like she enjoyed taking away any joy I had in my hobbies and talents, making me feel like I wasn't good enough. Mabel also made hurtful comments about how I looked. She would say mean things about my weight. She took pride in making me feel bad about my body. She would laugh at my clothes and say that they were old-fashioned or didn't look good on me. It was like she wanted to make me feel ashamed of how I looked and destroy my confidence. But her bullying didn't stop at just words. She tried to make me feel alone by spreading rumors and gossip about me to anyone that I invited over to my house. She wanted to turn them against me and create problems in my relationships. It was like she wanted to control everything and see me suffer. The entire time she had a smirk on her face. She enjoyed the pain she caused me. It was a cruel game to her, a way to show her power over me. To make matters worse, standing up to Mabel wasn't easy. I was scared of her anger and the possible strain it could put on my relationship with Phil. I was emotionally exhausted. I felt like I had reached my breaking point. That's how I knew enough time had passed and I could easily put my plan into action. I made sure to never complain about Mabel to Phil even once in the past month and a half. So now, not only was it safe to carry out my plan, but I was also burning with rage. I wanted Mabel to feel the same pain she made me feel. During those 2 weeks of secretly recording Mabel, my emotions were all over the place. It was really hard to handle her constant bullying, but I knew I had to stay strong because I wanted to show everyone, especially Phil, her true colors. The thought of finally exposing her kept me going even when things felt really tough. Every mean thing she said and every mean laugh she let out hurt me deeply. Her words felt heavy and her insults stung. It was exhausting to deal with her meanness all the time, but I reminded myself that it wouldn't last forever. I took every mean word she said and every mean thing she did in stride. I knew that everything was being recorded and I wouldn't need to deal with her anymore very soon. After compiling and editing the footage, I gathered up the courage to show it to Phil. One evening, I asked him if he wanted to watch a movie together. It had been a while since the both of us kicked back and relaxed, so he happily agreed. As we sat down, I started playing the footage of Mabel's hurtful actions towards me. Phil was confused and shocked. He watched with growing horror the way his mother treated me. He asked me to explain what I was showing him. Finally, I had his attention, and it was my chance to explain. Do you see what I've been trying to tell you about for so long? I've not been lying or making things up. I've been dealing with her antics for the past 2 months while you've been happily unaware of everything. It was bad enough when she didn't live with us, but when you let her live here, I swear, babe, I wanted to leave. I had no idea. I thought you were just making it up. Why would I make it up? What would I get by making up silly stories? I don't know. I don't know why I never believed you or even heard you out. I guess I just didn't want to believe that my mother could be so cruel. I'm so sorry for not believing you and neglecting your feelings. Your mother is a monster. I hate to break it to you like this, but she really is. You've seen the evidence now. Do you see how much I've been hurting? Yeah. I feel so guilty for not standing up for you. I should have heard you out and at the very least attempted to find out if what you were saying was true. I'm truly sorry, babe. Thank you for finally believing me. If you didn't, I would have lost my mind. So it means a lot to me. Of course. I'd have to be a special kind of fool to tell you that you were lying when I just saw with my own eyes how my mother has been treating you. I want to make it up to you. Tell me what I can do to make it up to you. I'll do anything, I promise. I want Mabel out of our house. I can't bear to live with her any longer. I would completely agree with that, but I still don't want her to be homeless. Her house is still undergoing renovations and we don't know when it will end. Fine. How about we work out a compromise? Compromise? Yeah. I want you to get the name of the renovation company that's working on Mabel's place. I can definitely do that, but why do you want to know about that? I don't know, but my gut is telling me that Mabel is lying about it. Why would she lie, though? Did you just not see how happy she looked while tormenting me? Right. You're right. I'll get you the information. Just please forgive me. I'm sorry for what I did to you. It's okay, baby. I'll need some time to get over the things that Mabel did and said to me, but I'll be fine. And more importantly, we're fine. The next day, Phil casually chatted with Mabel during breakfast and found out the name of the company doing her renovations. I decided to take matters into my own hands and contacted the company to check on the progress. To my surprise, I learned that the renovation had actually been finished 2 weeks ago, and they only had to work on one room. That meant that she did have a place to stay but chose to come and live with us. If I was angry before, then I was furious when I found out that Mabel had lied to us. She purposely stayed over at our place just to torment me. I immediately told Phil about this discovery, and he too got really upset that Mabel had lied to us about her living situation. He promised me that he would talk to her about her lies and how she treated me during dinner. When it was finally dinner time, I anxiously waited for Phil to talk to Mabel about her bullying. But nothing had happened. I assumed that he would talk to her after we were done eating. After we finished eating, Phil offered to take our dishes in, leaving me and Mabel alone in the dining room. As Mabel began to say mean things to me and I had reached my breaking point, I couldn't take her bullying anymore. "That's enough! I've had it! I will not tolerate your attitude anymore. I want you out of my house. I never want to see you again." "How dare you? This is my son's house and you have no right to kick me out." "Let me make one thing clear. This house is in both Phil's and my name. Do you know what that means? I have just as much rights as Phil to decide who lives here." "Like I care. How dare you speak to me like this? I will make Phil throw you out of the house. You'll learn your lesson then." "What's going on? Why are you guys yelling?" "Flora yelled at me because I made a small mistake and now she's asking me to leave, Phil. She told me to leave both of you alone. Can you believe her? She's heartless." "Oh, please, Mabel. Everyone in this room knows that you have a house to go back to. Your renovations have been completed for a while now. You're just here to make my life miserable because you enjoy doing it." "She's lying. You know, I would never do anything like that. You know I don't have a mean bone in my body, Phil. This can't keep going on. I'm sorry, but Phil, you have to choose. I can't keep living with someone as heartless as her. So, me or her?" Phil looked wildly uncomfortable. He hated being put on the spot, but this was the perfect time for him to show me who his loyalties lay with. If he chose Mabel, I would walk out of the house and never return to him. I hated to see him in a position where he felt so uncomfortable, but it was necessary for me in our relationship. Phil took his time and thought about how to gently respond and tell his mother to stop bullying me. But Mabel didn't give a chance to speak up. "Shall I ask Flora to start packing her bags then?" "No, Mom. You got it all wrong. It's not Flora who should be leaving, it's you." "What? What do you mean? Why are you choosing her over your own mother?" "I've been trying so hard to be nice and understanding, but you're making it so hard. I can't believe you. Do you do anything else other than lie? You've lied to me about not having a place to live and about Flora being mean to you." "But Phil, you know I would never do such a thing. Flora is just exaggerating and making things up. You know how delusional she can be." "Enough! You are not allowed to speak of my wife that way. I've seen and heard enough evidence to prove that you've been lying to me. I know the truth now. Flora has suffered enough, thank you. I want you to leave." But, no buts. This is not how we treat each other. I can't allow you to continue bullying Flora, disrespecting my relationship with her. You need to leave by tomorrow morning, and for everyone's sake, never come back. The following day, Mabel left our house reluctantly, still trying to argue her case, but Phil and I stayed firm with our decision. We no longer wanted her negativity or lies in our relationship. Even after she left, she kept trying to get in contact with us, but Phil and I decided that it would be best if we blocked her everywhere. Looking back on our journey, I feel relieved and like I've become stronger as a person. Phil and I have become even closer as a couple. The wounds from Mabel's hurtful words slowly but surely healed, and now our marriage is thriving without her toxicity. If you're going through something similar, remember that you deserve love and respect. Don't let anyone make you doubt your worth. Reach out for help from people who care about you. It's never too late to take a stand and take back your power. Let this story remind you that love and trust should always be at the center of your relationships. Phil and I have a strong foundation of trust and support. Although it's been a while since this incident, we're excited for the future because we know we can face anything together. Hello guys, my name is June. This is the story of my entitled sister Tina and how she got her just desserts. Before I begin, let me give you some background about my life. I'm Tina's older sister. Our parents died when I was only a tween. My sister was even younger and didn't remember them much. It was our paternal Uncle Josh who took us in and raised us as his own. He never married and considered us his own children. He was a rich lawyer who also owned a lot of money. Josh and my parents went through a difficult time when my grandparents died with a mountain of debt. They had a very luxurious lifestyle before my grandparents died. After their death, Josh and my parents had to sell everything to clear the debts. As a result, they were left with nothing. Thankfully, Josh was able to become a big lawyer and earn lots of money. He also made a bunch of good investments and grew his savings. My parents, unfortunately, got into a bad crowd and died from a drug overdose. Since then, Josh has been our only parent. Unfortunately, me and my sister grew up to be completely different people. She didn't remember much of our troubled life with our parents. She was used to seeing Josh's riches and having a good life. So she quickly became an entitled woman. The friends she associated with also encouraged her to spend lots of money while not caring for anyone else. That is why, even at 24, she didn't have a job. I tried to talk to her about it. I said, "Tina, you need to be more responsible with your life. Just because Josh gives you money, that doesn't mean you should not try to earn something for yourself." "Why the hell would I do that, June? Josh has plenty of money to give me. When he dies, you and me will inherit everything. You can let go of your share since you work a good job." "Tina, what is wrong with you? Josh is well and alive. You don't have to start thinking about an inheritance right now. You better not mention this in front of Josh." I was appalled to hear Tina's logic. What was worse was that Josh had recently been diagnosed with a terminal illness, and his chances of survival are slim. He wasn't very sick at that moment, but his health was steadily declining. So Josh decided to sit us down and tell us about what he had been thinking about. He said, "You know what, guys? I have some news for you. I was able to buy back the house I and your parents grew up in. I have purchased the property very recently. I really want to renovate it and make it better." "That is great news, Josh. We know how much you've been missing the house. Do you plan to shift there?" "Not really. I love this house now. I just wanted to give the house a second chance. It needs a little love. It had been neglected by the last owners. It broke my heart to see the mansion that way." "What a shame. I heard that the mansion was big and very beautiful. God, I want to see it. I'm so excited. Maybe I can live in it." "I'm going to take you there next week. I was hoping to show you the house so that you can help me renovate it. My health will get worse soon, so I need your help to restore the house. I will pay for everything, of course." Josh took us to see the house where he had grown up with my parents. At first, both me and Tina were excited to see the mansion. Josh had told us a lot of stories growing up, so we were eager to see where he and our parents lived. When we reached the place, we saw that the mansion came with a big property, but the mansion itself was pretty run down. It was old and hadn't been maintained very well. Tina looked shocked by the house. Then she started to get angry. She said, "Josh, this is the house you and my parents lived in? This is nothing like the mansion I had imagined." "I know, Tina. The last owners of the mansion didn't live here or even take care of the place. I convinced them to sell it to me since it was ready to fall apart." I don't want anything to do with this horrible place. It looks like a slum house. My God, the paint is chipping off the walls. Why have you kept this dump anyway?" "This house is my childhood home, Tina. This place holds a lot of sentimental value to me. I had to buy this from the people who owned the place after my father." "You spent money on this wrecked place? What is wrong with you, Josh? I thought you were smart with money, but now I see that you are not. God, you need to have some taste and stop living like a beggar." "Watch it, Tina. This mansion is much more than an old house. You can't just insult this place, and you can't insult Josh like that either. You are hurting his feelings." It's fine, June. I thought maybe this time Tina would understand the sentiment associated with this house. I was wrong to hope for it. I get it, Tina. Maybe this house is too shabby for you. Yes, it is, Josh. I'm saying this well in advance, Josh. I want nothing to do with this house. Don't bother leaving me this as an inheritance. I would rather take the money and leave the entire house to June. Tina, what is wrong with you? Josh is right here and you're already talking about getting an inheritance? Have some shame, for God's sakes. It's okay, June. Leave her be. All right then, Tina, since you don't want the house or even want to help me renovate it, I won't leave you this property in my will. Tina seemed satisfied with Josh's promise and looked very pleased with herself. Meanwhile, I was horrified to see what a person she had become. From that moment onwards, I knew that she was far gone, and I didn't want to have a relationship with her anymore. What was worse was what she said when we got home. Tina said, "So, since Josh has laid out his will in words today, I guess we won't argue about who gets what. I don't want you coming after me when that old house gives you very little money." Don't worry, Tina. I am least concerned about getting an inheritance from Josh. I would rather he outlive me. Your inheritance is safe with you. I won't ask you to share or change my mind. Good, because even if you are dying, I won't be giving you my money. I was the one who struck a better bargain. You will have to live with your choices. Honestly, I was disgusted with the way Tina was treating me and Josh. I felt even worse for Josh. He was suffering from the disease and was already in pain. It had hurt him when Tina had insulted him today. After dealing with Tina, I went to talk to him. I wanted to apologize about my sister and make it up to him in some way. I went to his study where he was drafting his will. I said, "Josh, you don't have to take Tina's words to heart. She's an idiot and doesn't know what she's saying. Her friends have been influencing her a lot. Don't worry, June. I'm not upset anymore. And Tina is not a child. She should know right from wrong. I'm afraid she's beyond repair now. Josh, what she did today was horrible. I hope you won't be rewarding her by giving her the money she wants." "Oh, don't you worry, June. I'll give her money, but she will be in for a surprise. I plan to leave as little money as possible. Do you have any ideas on how we can do that?" "I think I may just have the right plan for that, and I think you will like that a lot." Me and Josh discussed the plan I had in mind. I really did want to teach Tina a lesson and make her feel a little less entitled. Also, I wanted Josh and myself to get some revenge as well. Josh seemed very receptive to my idea since it lined up with his plans about the money and the mansion. So we went about putting our plan in motion. Tina had no idea what was about to hit her. This part will be a little hard for me to type. My Uncle Josh passed away just a year after his diagnosis. We tried our best to give him a painless death. He suffered, but we helped him deal with the pain a bit. I was with him till his last breath. Tina was out partying and going on vacation as usual. It boggles my mind how she even afforded those vacations. I didn't have time to ponder over that. Josh was my primary concern. His death left a gaping hole in my heart. It was just as bad as when my parents had died. I hope he is in a better place with them in heaven. When I called Tina to inform her about Josh's passing, I was hit with another shock. Tina seemed to be very nonchalant about the news. She ummed and hummed on the news and said, "So, as you know, I'm in the midst of a vacation. I can't really help you right now. I will definitely show up for the funeral and the reading of the will. Why don't you just text me the dates and all?" "Tina, I need you right here now. Josh has passed away. We are the only family he had left. You are the only family I have. I need your help. I can't arrange everything on my own." "Oh, please, June. You have always been the best organizer, and like I said, I can't help you. I think you'll manage just fine. Just send me the dates and that's it." After talking to her, I was furious again, and I realized that I didn't have a sister anymore either. She did show up to the funeral, but was only interested in the reading of the will. Josh had left her $2 million while he left me the house. Tina walked up to me with a satisfied smirk on her face. Here I was, hoping that she would come to offer condolences and express her grief, but I had forgotten how heartless my sister had become. She came to me and said, "So, Josh did listen to our demands, didn't he? He split the assets just like we wanted." "Oh, so you are here to talk about inheritance. I made the mistake of thinking you are here to express your sadness or something. You're just happy that he gave you what you wanted." "Good to know, Tina." "I feel bad for you, sis. Look at me. I have got such a huge amount of money in my inheritance. Meanwhile, you are stuck with an old and wrecked mansion. Gosh, what would it cost now? Like $250,000? You should not have wasted your money on that old place." I looked at Tina for some time before bursting into laughter. Tina looked taken aback by my reaction. She expected me to sulk and get jealous of her inheritance. She saw that none of that happened. Instead, I was laughing my butt off at her words. Tina was getting pissed at me and said, "Why the hell are you laughing? What did I say wrong?" "Oh my God, Tina. Do you think I inherited an old and wrecked mansion? You must be out of your mind. When was the last time you visited the house?" "Well, I haven't ever been there except once. Why should I set foot in that place again? It is a wreck, so it doesn't interest me. You know I like new and shiny things. Who would want to visit a ruined house?" "I think you should come along with me and check it out once. Who knows, maybe you are in for a big surprise. You haven't been to the house in 4 years after all." "That ruined house won't impress me, June. You might be running after its nostalgic value, but that doesn't impress me. I like my stuff modern and flashy." "I will be going there to close the sale on the house tomorrow. You can simply tag along and take a last look at it once. I promise you, you will be surprised." I convinced Tina to accompany me to the mansion the next day. At first, Tina was a little reluctant to tag along, but her curiosity got the best of her. I would have taken her along anyway. I had been waiting for this day when Tina would finally see the house after so many years. Once that happens, my revenge against my greedy and entitled sister will be complete. Tina and I drove over to the mansion the very next day. Tina was kind of disinterested in seeing the house. She was convinced that there was no way a broken-down mansion would compare to her immense wealth of $2 million. Oh, wait. It was less than that, since the first thing she did was buy designer purses. Don't get me wrong, I like my luxury bags as well, but Tina had no sense of investing money to preserve her fortune. That is one of the reasons why she was so naive about the mansion. When I finally reached the mansion, Tina looked shell-shocked. She said, "My God, June, what is this place? That looks straight out of a magazine. God, I wish I could have a mansion like this." "You were offered half of this mansion, Tina. You straight away rejected it and acted like you were offended that Josh even dared to make this offer." "What nonsense, June! Josh had never offered me a beautiful mansion like this. You must have intentionally hidden this mansion from me so that I can't claim my share. I always knew you had ulterior motives for being near Josh." Your mind really does think in the worst way possible. I guess me and Josh failed to turn you into a decent human being. Anyway, you have been to this mansion before, Tina. I didn't hide anything from you. This is our grandfather's old house, the one you called wrecked and old. "No, that is impossible. It was in ruins when I saw the mansion. It had a horribly overgrown lawn with paint chipping off all over. It didn't even come close to this place." I looked at Tina to take in her stupidity in full form. When Tina was slowly becoming a horrible woman, I was hurt to lose my sister. Now I feel nothing but pity for her. I knew people with a mindset like Tina would never be truly happy in life. I didn't want my sister to be unhappy, but I did want to teach her a lesson. After letting the facts sink in for Tina, I said, If you had really considered Josh's feelings and helped him remodel the mansion, you would not be here shaking your head in disbelief. You were stupid enough to run after flashy things that you missed how beautiful the old mansion could become. I had no freaking idea it would be this good. It should cost way more than what I had received in my inheritance. This is your fault, June. You should have convinced me better. There is no use blaming me, Tina. I did my best to change your mind, but you never listened to me. This is what happens when you become an entitled and greedy person with no regard for people's advice. Just then, a luxurious car pulled up at the mansion. A few people came out of the car and shook hands with me. We went into the mansion together, and Tina was even more impressed when she saw the interiors. The designers did a great job in handling everything perfectly. I could tell that Tina was starting to tear up. When she heard how much the house was worth, she started to have a meltdown. She couldn't believe that I got $6 million for the mansion. I excused my buyers and let my agent handle the rest of the formalities. Then I walked over to my sister and said, "There is no use crying about this now, Tina. I'm sure you now regret not listening to me. Too bad that it is too late for you." "Why can't you just share the proceeds of the sale with me? This is very unfair that you got such a nice place while I was left with scraps." "You are the one who chose the scraps, Tina. Well, since we have already started this conversation, let me tell you what happened. Josh always had plans to renovate the house, but due to his health, he couldn't oversee the work himself. He wanted us to help him out, and in return, he was ready to give us the mansion in an even split. But you took one look at it and insulted his childhood house. Then you stupidly told him to give you money when he dies." But I had no idea he had so little money. I thought I would get more. That's why I gave you full ownership of the house. I didn't think this place was worth anything." "That's where you messed up, Tina. In your greed to get the best pick, you chose the wrong option. Josh did have a lot of money, but he had always intended to use most of it to renovate this place. So it was an easy decision for him after you showed your ungrateful side." At that point, Tina realized how stupid she had been. All this while she was chasing an empty purse while the real stuff lay right before her eyes. Suddenly she started to beg me to share half of the money with her. I gently reminded her that she made it clear our inheritance won't be shared. She promised not to help me in my need, and I was doing the same for her. When she started to throw tantrums, I had to drive her back to her place. It was a tough job to get her out of the car, but I managed it. What followed next was a mountain of calls and texts from Tina. She alternated between demanding and begging me to split the proceeds of the sale. Remember how she was boasting about several vacations and parties she had planned? Well, she was doing it all on debt. Now that she has received her inheritance, the debtors were pestering her for the money. You won't believe it, guys, but this woman has a debt of $1 million with $50,000 on credit card dues. I was stunned to hear the figures. Turns out she had been having a luxurious lifestyle for the past year in the hope that she would get a big inheritance. She had no idea that the numbers would be so low for her. Now she didn't know what to do with the debts she collected. Tina was left with very little money after she had to pay off her debtors. She tried her best to live a life on the remaining money. Yes, she still didn't want to work. It lasted her 2 years before she was back begging at my door. I again reminded her of our deal and shut the door in her face. I have no idea where she is or what she's doing. She never cared about me and used me for her needs. There was no way I was keeping any contact with her. If you want to know about my life, let me tell you. I bought a beautiful but cozy bungalow with some of the money. The rest I invested in various things as Josh had told me. I'm doing very well for myself and still work because I don't want to meet the same end as Tina under any circumstances. Also, I'm now engaged and all set to marry next fall. Wish me luck so that I can start my new life with lots of love and happiness. Hi guys, my name's Winter. I've been reading some crazy mother-in-law stories that I could relate to. Like some of these stories, my life was also almost ruined by my husband Cade and mother-in-law Pauline. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, became my friend and confidant. I will tell you how I avoided being stuck paying for my mooching husband and mother-in-law. I married Cade very recently, actually. Sadly for us, the marriage didn't last long. Now that I know his real face, I consider it a blessing in disguise. You see, I'm a girl who's hungry for love. Cade understood that and gave me all his affection. Since we both had stable jobs, we decided to get married around 2 years after dating. Yes, I know we rushed it, but I had no idea how fake Cade's love was for me. When I married him, I thought he had a stable job like me. After our marriage, I was hit with a horrible truth. Cade said, "Winter, since we're now married, I think you should know something. I've been hiding a secret from you." "What are you talking about, Cade? You are scaring me." "I'm sorry, Winter. I had been lying about my job to you for a while. Remember the last job I had? I got laid off just before we got married." "What? Why didn't you tell me anything? I thought you were not contributing to our expenses because you had some debt before our marriage." "No. Winter, it's not that. I should have told you this sooner, but I was ashamed. In my family, men who can't provide are looked down upon, so I didn't want anyone to know. Promise me you won't tell anyone." I was a little miffed by the fact that Cade waited so long to tell me. I should have seen those red flags and saved myself, but I was naive. I decided to support him while he looked for a new job. Well, he didn't start looking even 6 months into our marriage. What was worse was the fact that I was also stuck paying his mother, Pauline, a monthly allowance. Now, let me tell you something. This woman is horrible. She treats other women like shit and always thought that I was a gold digger. She made her thoughts very clear publicly and seized all chances to humiliate me. It didn't help that Cade never stopped her. It was his sister Kylie who stood up for me. One day, she told me in private, "Winter, you are a nice woman, but I don't think my brother deserves you. My family doesn't have the best people." "What do you mean, Kylie? So far I've found everyone to be pretty decent." "They are not good people, Winter. They will never appreciate you since you are a woman. I've gone through this, so I know. Look at me, Winter. I have such an established career, but all my mom does is dote on Cade because he's a man." Kylie's words were very true. Pauline did tend to put down women and praise her son for everything. I had always wondered how she would feel when she knew that I was the one paying for her expenses. I never knew back then that I would get to witness her reaction firsthand, and in the process, I would also see what a vile person Cade is. It all started at a family dinner which I was invited to. There were a lot of people on Cade's side and we were having a lot of fun. But what my husband did at the dinner made me absolutely speechless. He was telling everyone that he was the breadwinner of the family. I would have accepted it if he had stopped at that. But he started to make fun of me and make up lies about me. He detailed how I made very little money and made him pay for my luxuries. Everyone was laughing with him while he portrayed me to be a gold digger. Their conversations both shocked and disgusted me. Pauline said, "See, I was right about her all along. Winter is nothing but a mooch. I would seriously rather be homeless than dependent on her anyway. Thank God my son is such a hard worker. It's too bad he is set on doing charity for his wife." "What can I say, Mom? You know your son is such a generous man. Sometimes I think that's why Winter married me. She can't take care of her expenses to save her life. I wonder what would have become of her if I wasn't here." "She would have ended up homeless and on the street anyway. I would say that she would deserve it. Useless people like her absolutely need to get punished for being lazy. I was stunned to hear what Cade and Pauline were saying about me. I knew that Pauline always hated me, but the betrayal coming from Cade was too much for me to handle. I seriously couldn't believe what he had said. Not only had he lied about being the breadwinner, but also he made fun of me. I was almost starting to tear up from the pain. It was Kylie who decided to put a stop to the conversation. She said, "You two are being unnecessarily cruel on Winter. She's a great person and a hard-working woman. She doesn't deserve your horrible words. You should apologize to her, guys." Why the hell will we apologize to her? We're just telling the truth. She should be the one apologizing for being such a parasite. God, I can't believe my son literally has a pet for his wife. Winter can't even support herself. Like I said, she's lucky to have me. Men should take care of their women. Women tend to be very dependent on men. It's only natural that Winter would act this way. She is a woman after all. Cade and Pauline started to laugh at their own jokes. Even Kylie couldn't digest the poison they were spewing. Since she was a hard-working woman herself, these comments also hurt her a lot. It broke her heart to see her mom praise Cade just because he's a man. Meanwhile, I was starting to get over my hurt and instead felt red-hot anger. I literally sacrificed my time and money to look after these two ungrateful idiots. I couldn't recognize Cade anymore. I was furious but refrained from yelling at him then and there. Cade and Pauline continued their jokes until I was sick and tired of it. I had to fake a headache to leave the family dinner sooner. Cade seemed a little disappointed since Pauline and a few other people were encouraging him. When we returned home, I finally screamed at Cade. I said, "What the hell did you want to establish today? Why were you saying those things about me? I am not a parasite who lives off you. It's you who doesn't work anymore." My God, Winter, you need to chill out. It wasn't even that deep. You know the men in my family like to be a little macho. It would not do me good if people knew that I was unemployed. So, you had to go out of your way to paint me as a parasite? You couldn't have just lied about your job? You put me down in front of the whole family to satisfy your ego. How do you justify this, Cade? Answer me. You are being way too dramatic today, Winter. Learn to let things go. You're spoiling all my fun. Now calm down and go back to sleep. It's been a long night. No, absolutely not. I am not going to pretend that I was okay with what you did today. Hell, did you even hear what your mother said? Instead of defending me, you joined Pauline in humiliating me even more? Leave my mother off this, Winter. You are the one who can't take some jokes and harmless teasing. You're simply blaming us for your insecurities. Now, let's go to bed. You have to go to work tomorrow. I have the luxury to stay at home and waste time. You can't do that. Cade said that and casually went to the bedroom to sleep. I was stunned by how nonchalantly he dismissed my feelings. Hell, he couldn't even understand why I was reacting this way. Even after being home alone with me, he wouldn't accept that his words were hurtful, and he was still defending his mother. That night, I stayed on the couch and thought about things through and through. Everything was starting to make sense. I understood that I had been a fool. Cade and his mother used me to fund their lives, but they never held any feelings for me at all. Cade's attitude towards today's events also told me something that I was in denial about. Cade was using me, and he didn't care about me anymore. I was just a money machine to him who gave him what he wanted. At that point, I knew that my marriage was becoming financially abusive for me. I knew that I needed to get out. The next day, Cade acted like nothing happened. It was like he had forgotten how he had insulted me the day before. I tried to talk to him about it again, but he kept shutting me down. I got so fed up that it was easier for me to make a decision. But before I did anything, I needed to call Kylie. I called her from my office and said, "Kylie, I need to talk to you about what happened last night. Thank you for being the only one who stood up for me at least a little." "Oh, don't mention that, Winter. It was a weak attempt to try and stop them. Cade and Mom can get cruel when they want. It was wrong of Cade to insult you like that just because he's the breadwinner." "Yeah, about that, Kylie. Cade has been lying to everyone about that one. He isn't the breadwinner, but I am. He left his job about 6 months ago. He hasn't told anyone." "Oh my God! So he was lying to everyone? Does Mom know about this?" Pauline had no idea that her son wasn't paying her allowance. It was me who was giving her money. Cade would never compromise his manly image even to his mother, so he's been lying to her as well. "I can't believe these people, Winter. It's bad enough that I have to put up with them, but for you, it must be crazy." "Yes, Kylie. I'm done being the ATM for Cade and Pauline. I have realized that Cade just married me for money. He knew I was hungry for love and would do what he wanted. Thank God I saw his true face before wasting many more years on him." "Are you planning to do something, Winter? You can tell me. I'll try to help you as much as I can. I understand your place, Winter. I have been suffering for years as well." I told Kylie what I was planning to do. I wanted to teach Cade and Pauline a nice lesson for their horrible views on women, and I needed them to understand that they can't just use people how they want. So I made a plan with Kylie and set out to execute it. Then I went straight to a lawyer's office with a few things in mind. After I was done with that, I decided to wait for a week before executing the first half of my plan. When the week was up, I was prepared to start with Cade. He was the one going down first. Just 6 months into our marriage, I sat him down and said, "Cade, there's something important I need to talk about. You need to be patient and listen." "This better not be about that stupid family dinner again, Winter. It's starting to piss me off. You need to drop the issue and stop being dramatic. I hate dramatic women." "Well, in that case, I have some good news for you, Cade. You don't have to be with me anymore. I have filed for the annulment of our marriage." "What? No, you're joking with me. Why would you annul our marriage?" "You will want to know why, Cade. It is because of you. First of all, you lied about being employed and tricked me into supporting your mooching lifestyle. When I still try to communicate with you, I discover that you don't even care about my feelings anymore. Might I also add that you did nothing to protect me from your mother?" "Look, Winter, those were some minor inconveniences. We don't need to get an annulment just because of that." "Then what is your plan, Cade? Want to string me along for a few years until you're fit to claim alimony from me? Those plans won't work anymore, Cade. I know exactly what kind of a man you are. You used me to support yours and your mother's life. In return, you gave me nothing but insults and shame." Cade looked at my angry form and immediately started to apologize for his actions. He understood that I was not exactly the doormat he had always imagined me to be. Instead, I was a woman who knew how to stand up for herself. As soon as he heard annulment, he realized that his human ATM was going to escape. So he started to plead with me. He had no idea what more I had in store for him. He said, "Winter, please don't do this to us. We were so happy together. We don't have to destroy everything for a small mishap." "You call this a small mishap? For days, I have tried to talk to you about your actions, Cade. You ignored me every time and got mad at me for bringing this up. Not once did you even apologize for being such a prick. Our relationship was good until you decided to trick me into supporting you and your mother." We can negotiate that, Winter. Look, I messed up and I'm sorry. There, I even apologized to you. Isn't that enough? I don't want your filthy apology, Cade. I'm done with you, and we are getting an annulment. Oh, there is another thing I forgot to mention. I pulled out some documents from my bag and handed them to Cade. He was very confused about what I was showing him. When he read the papers, he was in shock again. He started to shake and said, Is this? Yes, Cade. These documents are about our marriage annulment and your eviction notice. Since I informed you about the annulment, I thought I might as well give you the eviction papers too. No, Winter, you can't kick me out. I'm your husband. You can't just do this to me. Where is your attention, Cade? I already told you that I have filed for annulment. Are you deaf or blind? You won't be my husband for much longer. Please don't kick me out, Winter. I don't have anywhere else to go. You know, I can't tell Mom about me losing my job. That simply cannot happen. You had no problem lying to Pauline about your job. I'm sure you'll find a way. You know, make up a story or something. As for your mom, she will no longer get any money from me, of course. Since I am a generous woman, I'm letting you figure out a plan before the month is up. I said my part and left Cade to fend for himself. I knew he would call Kylie for help, but as we had planned, she will deny him any kind of help. Kylie had suffered enough humiliation at the hands of Cade and Pauline. She was fed up with them and wanted to cut contact anyway, so she was eager to participate in my plan. For the next month, Cade did everything in his power to make me change my mind. He turned very romantic and showered me with affection. He even bought me gifts with the last allowance I gave him. I simply left them in the main bedroom and went off to sleep in the guest room. I gave him the main bedroom as the last gift from my side. In a few days, he would probably have to kiss the cold street anyway. Until the very end, he was convinced that I wouldn't kick him out. Meanwhile, Pauline had no idea about what was going on. When the month was up and she didn't receive her allowance, she stormed into my house and said, "Why the hell didn't I get my allowance, Winter? I know it was you. It has to be you. You never liked the fact that Cade sent me money. You must have intentionally misplaced the money or stolen it." Believe me, Pauline, I don't freaking care if your dear son wants to send you money. He can do so as he pleases. I don't need his money to feed or clothe myself. You are lying, Winter. Cade has told everyone that you are dependent on him. You have already drained his account and have set your eyes on my money. First of all, Pauline, it was never your money to begin with. Now that I say it, the money wasn't Cade's either. You need to stop saying that. Why will I stop saying that? My poor son works very hard to look after me. I will scream it to the world to tell everyone what a successful man he is. Is that right, Pauline? Then what will you scream and tell the world when I tell you that Cade is unemployed and that I was the one sending you money? That is nonsense. I will never believe it, and neither will others. Cade has told me that he is the breadwinner of this house. Right, Cade? Cade remained quiet and looked down to the floor. Pauline was staring at him, expecting him to crack a joke about me or tell her how he is the breadwinner of this house. But this time, Cade remained silent. He knew that he could not keep lying for any longer. When Cade didn't speak for a while, Pauline said, "Cade, why are you not saying anything? Tell your wife I'm right." How will he say that, Pauline? Your useless son doesn't even have the guts to accept that he lives off his wife's income. Yes, I am the breadwinner and sole provider of this household. I was the one giving you money because Cade wanted to take care of his mom. No, that can't be possible. My son is a man and won't depend on a woman. You are lying to me. You will find out soon enough, Pauline. Since I am now seeking annulment of my marriage, you can enjoy being homeless with your son. I guess he didn't tell you this as well. It's been a month since I've given him an eviction notice. He will need to move out by next week. Hearing this, Pauline starts to interrogate Cade about what I said. Since Cade realized that he couldn't hide the truth anymore, he told her the truth. After some back and forth, Pauline realized that she had been dependent on me all along. Suddenly, she was begging me not to leave Cade and stop paying for their expenses. I laughed in their faces and reminded Pauline what she had thought of me last month. Pauline and Cade both started to apologize to me and beg me to change my mind. I simply turned and left. Till the next week, Cade and Pauline continued to pester me with their begging. When the week was up, I told Cade to leave my property or else I would call the police. He left with his things and moved in with Pauline. From what Kylie told me, they had been pestering her for money. After she firmly said no, they turned their attention back to me. I blocked their numbers and told Cade only to contact me through a lawyer. Cade and I got separated very easily. He didn't have the money to fight me in court, so he had to give in to the annulment. Last I heard, he and Pauline were being kicked out of her apartment after not paying rent for months. Since Kylie has cut contact with them and refused to send them money, they had to take turns crashing couches on other relatives' places. Even they were tired of hosting them for free, and their future was unsure. As for me, I'm slowly rebuilding my life and learning to be content on my own. I have promised myself never to fall into anyone's trap again, and I hope I will find my true soulmate soon. Hey there, everyone. Grab a tissue or two because the story I'm about to share is a real tearjerker. I'm Sophie, 25, female, and I feel like it's time for me to share what happened to me. I apologize in advance if this story is too depressing, but it's so crazy that I had to share it. I'm still reeling from it myself, to be honest. So let's dive in, shall we? Picture this. I was 18 and head over heels in love with my high school sweetheart, Ethan. Yeah, I know, people said we were too young, but that didn't stop us. We tied the knot and thought we had it all figured out. Fast forward a few years and there we were, living our lives as a married couple, doing all the couple of things. Things were great, and I knew that I could accomplish anything with my ride or die right by my side. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs at you. One day, out of the blue, Ethan was gone. A car accident took him away from me, from his family, from everyone who loved him. It hit me like a freight train, the news, the grief, the overwhelming feeling that I was suddenly alone. For a while, I was lost in a sea of sadness. My days were dark and it felt like a heavy cloud was hanging over me, making it hard to breathe. Ethan had been my rock, my everything, and now he was gone. The funeral was beautiful. All of us were brought closer by the whole ordeal. The coroner said that his body was so damaged and burnt up that they had to cremate him. Each of us, me, my sister-in-law and mother-in-law, as well as other family members, got the chance to get a little piece of Ethan with us. I decided to put him into a necklace that I'd never take off so that he'd be close to me in some way. About a month after his passing, I found myself in bed, a mess of tears and memories. It was one of those moments when the weight of the world was just too much to bear. This was the norm. I even quit my job because nothing felt worth living anymore. So yeah, one day I was in bed wallowing as was custom, and then, like a lightning bolt, my phone started buzzing like crazy. I glanced at the caller ID and there it was, Linda, my sister-in-law. Hello? Come and open the door, I'm here! Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Here I was, a mess of emotions, and Linda's angry voice was the last thing I expected. I dragged myself out of bed, wiped my tears, and stumbled to the front door. There she was, arms crossed, looking like she meant business. Linda, what's going on? Look, Sophie, I know he's here somewhere. I don't know why he would do this to us, but I know he's here. So there I was, staring at Linda in utter confusion and disbelief. I thought for a moment that maybe the grief had gotten to her, that maybe she had lost her marbles. Linda, you can't seriously think that Ethan is here, right? He's gone, you know this. Come and sit, let's talk about this. But Linda was adamant, like a detective on a mission. She looked me in the eye and said she didn't know what to believe anymore. So I sighed, asked her to sit down again, and attempted to make her understand that Ethan was no longer with us, that he was really truly gone. Linda, it's been a month. Ethan passed away and we have to accept that. I don't know what you're accusing me of, but I can't play along with this. Grief can mess with our heads, I know that, but we can't let it make us imagine crazy things. We can't let it take control. Linda's voice cracked as she spoke, and for a moment, I saw a vulnerability in her eyes that I hadn't expected. Sophie, don't talk to me like I'm a crazy person. I know what I saw, and I swear to God, if you two thought that this was some funny prank you could pull on us, then you've got another thing coming. Linda, I don't know what you're saying. Please explain. I saw him, Sophie. I saw him at that cafe on 5th Street. It was him. I know it was him. Don't believe me? Let me prove it to you. I took a picture. I felt a chill run down my spine. She pulled out her phone and showed me a picture. A picture that shouldn't exist. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me again. Grief can make us do crazy things, but that wasn't it. This felt too real. Then I thought that it was a doppelganger. People can look like other people, right? But the similarities were too uncanny. I then concluded that that was indeed Ethan, wearing a hoodie, sitting in a cafe. My heart pounded as I looked at the date of the photo. Just 2 days ago. What? What is this? How is this even possible? It was like I had seen a ghost. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. And then reality came crashing back and I realized Linda didn't mean to accuse me. She genuinely thought she had seen Ethan alive and well. Sophie, I'm sorry. I really thought that you knew that he was still alive. I actually thought that you helped him fake his death. She was on the verge of tears, and I found myself struggling to hold it together too. Linda explained how she had seen Ethan through the cafe window, snapped the picture, and sent it to our family group chat. Everyone denied knowing anything about Ethan faking his death except me. I hadn't responded. She thought I was in on it, that I was helping Ethan live this lie. Linda, I swear I had no idea. I thought he was gone. Please tell me everything you know, and I'm sorry for not responding. I haven't responded to messages in a month, Linda, I swear to you. I had no idea about this. I would never do something like this. Tell me everything now. There I was, huddled with Linda, trying to make sense of it all. Linda explained that all she knew was that she had seen Ethan in that cafe, sent the picture to our family chat, and asked if he was pulling some bizarre prank. But now, with what Linda had just revealed, it meant that nobody knew about this. Ethan had lied to everyone. Why would he do something like this? As we clung to each other, tears streaming down our faces, a mixture of sadness and anger began to swell within us. We were left wondering what on earth could drive Ethan to concoct such a stupid ruse. I thought I was losing my mind. I wanted to approach him, but I was scared. That's why I took the picture so others could see what I was seeing. so that I could know for sure that I wasn't just imagining things. At that moment, our shared sadness shifted into something else, a fiery rage that we couldn't suppress. We tossed around speculations like a game of emotional ping pong. Sure, Ethan had been a prankster and had a knack for getting on people's nerves to mess with them, but this was a new low, and we were left grappling with the weight of his actions. I can't believe he would put us through this. What could he possibly have gained from making us think he was dead? Linda's voice trembled as she spoke, her anger mirroring my own, and then, amid our confusion and fury, it hit us like a bolt of lightning. We were way out of our depths here. We couldn't just unravel this on our own. We needed help, professional help. Linda, we can't do this alone. We need to find out the truth, and that means we need to get a private investigator involved. Linda's eyes met mine, and in that gaze we shared a newfound determination. We were going to dig deep, uncover the layers of deception, and finally get the answers we deserved. The roller coaster had taken a wild twist, hurtling us towards a truth that was more complex and shocking than we could have ever anticipated. And, well, we were ready to face whatever lay ahead, with a little help, of course. So, with our newfound determination and Linda's connections, we managed to get ourselves a top-notch private investigator, the real deal. Honestly, if this story were a movie, this is probably where the music would start getting suspenseful. Weeks rolled by and we were getting antsy. I'd received sporadic updates from Linda, but for about 2 weeks, it felt like we were stuck in limbo. I was itching for some resolution, some answers. And then, finally, the private investigator called Linda with a big break. Turns out, Ethan wasn't just chilling somewhere twiddling his thumbs. No, he had gone the whole 9 yards, adopting a new name, let's call him Alex, a new passport, and an entirely new identity. Yeah, we're talking witness protection level stuff. The private investigator managed to get more pictures, and sure enough, it was Ethan, albeit with dyed hair and a clean-shaven face. The disguise might have fooled a casual passerby, but not us, not the people who loved him. Linda and I convened with the family and spilled the tea on what we'd been discovering. The collective reaction was something straight out of a soap opera, you know. The dramatic gasps and raised eyebrows, it was like we were all characters in some wild movie plot. But this was no movie, it was real life, and we needed answers. The PI didn't stop there. He was relentless, trying to uncover the motives behind Ethan's fake death and his new identity. It was like peeling back layers of an onion, and each discovery just led to more questions. And then another breakthrough. The PI reported that Alex, had a hangout spot, a lounge he'd frequent during the week. He seemed harmless, not engaging in any dangerous activities, so the PI reassured us that it was safe to approach him. We were on guard, trust me, 911 on speed dial and everything. Linda and I put our heads together, making a plan to finally confront Ethan, Alex, and get to the bottom of this mess. We had so many questions, and we were hoping against hope that our crazy theory was wrong, that we were somehow mistaken about everything. But at the same time, there was an undeniable thrill coursing through our veins. It was time to face the ghost that had returned from the dead. And well, let's just say we were as ready as could be. So there we were, Linda and I, stepping into that lounge like we were two characters from some suspense movie. We scanned the place, and there he was, lurking in the shadows, nursing a sad-looking bear. Ethan, Alex, was cornered, and he knew it. Those widened eyes spoke volumes as he realized who was confronting him. Two very pissed-off women who needed explanations pronto. The moment, Ethan stammered, "I can explain." Linda's hand met his face in a satisfying slap. Thankfully, there weren't many patrons around, and this lounge looked pretty seedy anyway, so we weren't drawing much attention. He blinked in surprise and regained his composure enough to mutter, "I guess I deserved that." But let me tell you, any composure we were trying to maintain evaporated into thin air as Linda and I unleashed a verbal assault. We didn't hold back, demanding to know just what the heck he thought he was doing. Honestly, the situation was so absurd, it felt like we were living in a sitcom, except nobody was laughing. Then came the sobbing. Ethan's defenses crumbled, and he confessed that he dug himself into a hole so deep he wasn't sure how he would get out. He messed up and he knew it. I could hardly believe my ears as he spilled the beans. He'd been having an affair with some valley girl named Stacy. You know the type, partying hard, doing drugs, hitting up underground fight clubs. The whole shebang. Things escalated real fast when Stacy turned up pregnant. Ethan tried to bail, but this girl, Stacy, was no pushover. She had a billionaire daddy who would kill for her, so he wasn't exactly the warm and fuzzy type. She threatened to make Ethan's life a living hell if he didn't play nice and build a nice life with her because she wanted to be wifed up. Just when I thought the crazy train had reached its final stop, Ethan hit us with the grand finale. He looked at me, guilt plastered all over his face, and mumbled out an apology. He explained that he was sorry, not just for the affair, but for faking his own death and dragging me into this chaotic mess. I was stunned, furious and heartbroken all at once. It's like I couldn't process the whirlwind of emotions that hit me. And then, without even thinking, my fist met his cheek, and the sound echoed through the lounge. It was the punch heard round the world, or at least around that lounge. And in that moment, I wasn't sure whether to scream, cry, or storm out of there. All I knew was that this crazy saga was far from over. So there we were, facing Ethan, or Alex, or whatever he wanted to call himself now. I could hardly wrap my head around the mess he dragged us all into. Linda's eyes bored into him, and she finally asked a million-dollar question. "Are you serious, Ethan?" He looked back at her with a mixture of guilt and desperation, and all he could manage to say was, "They're gonna chop off my jewels, Lynn. I had to run away, and I couldn't put you guys in danger. That's why I'm laying low. That's why I faked my death so that you could all be rid of me and my stupidity. I knew you'd all do just fine without me." "That's not your call to make, Ethan. We loved you. We mourned you. And you did this to us? Tell me why I shouldn't kill you myself. Please, you have to understand. How did you even come up with the money to accomplish all of this? To make it seem so real?" Reality sunk in as he began to explain how he'd managed to orchestrate this entire insane charade. He spilled the beans, revealing that Stacy was somewhat of a sugar mama to him, and so she'd give him insane amounts of cash, which he used to fund his little disappearing act. The car wreck, the stories in the news, even the coroner's report, all of it was staged. And then he'd used the money to create a whole new identity for himself. I couldn't help but ask, "Why stick around in the city if you knew you were in danger? Why not flee to another country? Or something?" Ethan sighed, a mix of frustration and resignation on his face. He explained that the plan had been to meet up with the guy who was supposed to help him escape the country, right here in this very lounge, but the guy hadn't shown up yet. According to Ethan, this connect didn't do phones to avoid exposure. He told Ethan to show up at the bar every night for a week, and he'd eventually make an appearance. I scoffed at his explanation. "And what if this guy never shows up? What if you get caught and you get your precious jewels chopped off like you said?" Ethan just shook his head, his eyes welling up with tears again. I'm so sorry, Sophie. Please, you have to believe me. I messed up big time, but I never wanted any of this. I'll be waiting for you in the car, Sophie. I can't do this anymore. Linda, please, I know you're upset, but please understand where I'm coming from. How about we rewind to last month when you were dead? Because there's no way that I'm going to accept you now. You're dead to me, Ethan. I hope that they catch you. She just got up and walked away. Ethan called out after her, his voice desperate, but she left him there with me. As for me, I wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily. I still had questions burning in my mind, so I looked him dead in the eyes and asked, "Why did you cheat on me, Ethan?" He looked down at his hands, tears falling onto the table as he tried to find the words. It was a messy mix of apologies, guilt, and regret. He didn't have a good excuse, just admitted that he was weak and got caught up in something he should never have let happen. At that moment, as I stared at the man I'd once called my husband, I realized that the story was far from over. The mess he'd created was bigger than any of us could have imagined, and the web of lies and deception was unraveling in ways I could hardly comprehend. Walking out of that bar, leaving Ethan behind with his tears and his guilt, I was so furious that I could barely see straight. The anger churned within me like a storm that threatened to consume everything. I got back to the car, slammed the door shut, and gripped the steering wheel so tight. My knuckles turned white. I muttered to myself, "He's going to pay for this. He's going to regret the day he ever cheated on me." And so, with that determination fueling my actions, I did the unthinkable. The next day, I tipped off the tabloids about the entire insane situation, how my supposedly dead husband had faked his own death just to escape the consequences of his actions, as well as providing them with pictures from the PI. The story spread like wildfire through the city. After all, it's not every day that you hear about someone faking their own death, especially not for something so absurd as evading a cheating scandal. I didn't hold back. I laid it all out there for the world to see, how I had been the loving and devoted wife, only to discover that my husband had played me like a fool. The tabloids ate it up, and soon the entire city was buzzing about the tale of the man who faked his own death. With the help of the PI, Ethan's secrets unraveled faster than he could ever imagine. It turned out that his grand plan was crumbling because his connect wanted nothing to do with him once his wife had blown his cover. And just like that, Ethan went from being a man who faked his death to avoid consequences to a man who was publicly exposed for his lies and deceit. Ethan's world quickly crumbled around him. He became a social outcast, shunned by his family and friends, his reputation in tatters. It seemed like justice was served. But then, just as suddenly as he'd reappeared into our lives, Ethan vanished once again. This time it felt more permanent, like he'd been swallowed up by the very lie he'd created. Rumors swirled, but it seemed like his past had finally caught up to him, this time in a way that even he couldn't escape. Linda and I were left wondering about his fate, whether he was even alive or not, whether he was finally facing the consequences he tried so hard to evade. I mean, when you mess with billionaires, anything can happen. Maybe they had him locked in a dungeon somewhere, jewels missing so that he could never escape again. In the end, all I could feel was a strange sense of relief. I had exposed the truth, no matter how messy or unbelievable it was. And for that, I was grateful because it meant I could restart my life without any drama and mess. I'm Paulina, and I'm 28 years old, and boy, oh boy, do I have a story for you guys. This is the type of story that's going to make you laugh, cringe, and maybe even shake your head in disbelief. So there's me, Paulina, ready to spill the beans on how I went from 2 failed marriages to finding true love with my man, Sean. I'm talking about the real deal here. Sean got me in a way that no one ever did. He was like the missing puzzle piece that suddenly made my life make sense. It was like all those rom-com cliches had come to life, and I was loving every minute of it. But of course, there's always a little drama in the mix, right? Enter Sean's twin sister, Hannah. Now, let me tell you, she's a whole different story. Bitter, attention-seeking, and just downright annoying. I mean, the girl practically had drama queen tattooed on her forehead. Wedding preparations were in full swing, and guess who decided to insert herself right into the chaos? You got it, Hannah. Suddenly, she was an expert on flowers, venues, and cake flavors. Like, girl, calm down, you're not the bride here. Sean, bless his heart, would tell me to just let it slide and let her have her moments because she was excited. But man, oh man, there was only so much I could take. Picture this, a cake tasting. Me, Sean, Hannah, and her boyfriend Bjorn. Please don't ask me why we agreed to bring them along with us. We're all sitting there ready to sample some sweet goodness. And then it happened. Hannah started with her suggestions on which flavor would be the best. I don't know if it was the stress or the sugar high, but I lost it. Right there in front of everyone. Sean, Hannah, Bjorn, they all got a front row seat to me snapping like a rubber band. I told Hannah how it was, how this was my wedding, not hers. I may or may not have used a few choice words in the process. You know, Paulina, I really like the raspberry filling. I think it would go so well with the vanilla sponge. You two should do this. Oh, really, Hannah? Because I was thinking the complete opposite. Come on, guys, can we not turn this into a debate? Well, I just thought since I have a good eye for these things, Hannah, for the love of all things sweet, this is my wedding, not yours. Can you for 1 second let me make decisions about my own day? Paulina, calm down. Let's not make a scene. No, Sean, this needs to be said. Hannah, I get it. You want to be involved, but this isn't your wedding. It's mine. And I've had enough of you acting like you're the one getting married. Excuse me? You heard me. I'm tired of your constant suggestions, your opinions, and your need to make everything about you. This is my moment, my day, and I won't let you take that away from me. Okay, let's all take a breather here. No, Sean, this has to be said. Hannah, I respect you're his sister, but that doesn't give you the right to overshadow me and my choices. So do us all a favor and back off. I was just trying to help. Help? No, you're trying to control everything. But guess what? This isn't your show. So either you respect that or you leave. Maybe we should go. Yeah, I think that's best. Goodbye. Hannah turned 50 shades of red, and Bjorn looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. And that's how it went down, folks. I laid it all out there and told Hannah what was what. Sometimes you've got to put people in their place, especially when they're trying to hijack your big day. All right, buckle up, folks, because this story is far from over. So after the whole cake tasting showdown, Sean and I finally got home. But you know what? Sean wasn't exactly thrilled about how I had lost my cool back there. Babe, I get that Hannah was being annoying, but yelling like that in front of everyone? You're better than that. Sean, she needed someone to put her in her place. If you had stood up for me earlier, maybe it wouldn't have come to this. Yeah, you heard that right. I was standing my ground. Unapologetic for finally telling Hannah off. And honestly, she had it coming. You can only deal with someone's drama for so long before you explode like a shaken soda can. She was asking for it at that point. A few more weeks rolled by and peace had finally returned to our lives. Hannah wasn't around to insert her opinions into every little thing, and I was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, my perfect wedding was actually going to happen. But, and oh boy, isn't there always a but in these stories, I received a text from Hannah. At first, I thought maybe she was apologizing or trying to make amends. But oh no, it was something else entirely. She texted, "I don't want you anywhere near the wedding, okay? I'm planning on proposing to Bjorn and I don't need you ruining things. I don't care that you're Eric's real dad. Just leave me alone." Confused doesn't even begin to cover what I was feeling. Like what? Proposing Eric's real dad? Did she send this to the wrong person? Instead of replying right away, I did what any sane person would do. I screenshotted that message and put my phone away. You see, sometimes silence is the best response. And this was a whole new level of Hannah's drama. And honestly, I wasn't about to dive headfirst into it. Nope. I was going to sit back, let the confusion simmer, and watch from the sidelines. But she did say one thing that made my ears perk up. Propose at the wedding? Certainly, she didn't mean my wedding, because I would go ballistic. I don't know about y'all, but nothing grinds my gears more than people proposing at other people's weddings. Like, have you no shame? That is someone else's special day and you want to take advantage of all the glitz and the glam to propose and take the attention away from the couple? Some people need some serious therapy. I was growing angry as I was trying to connect the dots, and what I concluded was that this person who Hannah originally wanted to text was in fact her son's biological father. This is crazy to think about because this entire time we all believed it was Bjorn who was the father of her baby. Eric. Chile, the tea. Anyway, I kept this to myself. I probably should have told Sean about it, but I knew that he would want to take the high road and gather everyone for some kumbaya. Me, on the other hand, I was feeling a little petty, a little violent, if you will. And if this heifer thought that she could get away with proposing at my wedding, then she got another thing coming. But I had to find out some more information. I had to know who she was talking to. So I decided to meet up with her. All right, hang on tight because we're about to dive into the next chapter of this roller coaster ride. So there I was, plotting my next move after receiving that cryptic text from Hannah about proposing to Bjorn and telling me to stay away from the wedding. And trust me, I had a trick up my sleeve. I decided to meet up with Hannah too. Well, fake apologies for my little outburst at the cake tasting. You should have seen her face light up when I suggested it. She was probably thinking she had won or something. But little did she know I was playing chess, not checkers. While Hannah was off to use the restroom, I seized the opportunity. Yep, you guessed it. I sneaked a peek at her phone. I had a feeling that there was more to her story, and I was ready to uncover it. My heart was racing, my hands were shaky, but I had to do it. I needed answers. First things first, I searched for the name Eric, and there it was, a chat between her and me, where she sent text that she still hadn't deleted. Honestly, it's like she wanted to get caught. But right beneath it was another chat. Paul. Bingo. I had found a new lead. I quickly opened the chat. Scanning through the messages, there was a lot of talk about Eric, but I couldn't focus on it properly. I was too afraid that Hannah might return and catch me in the act. So, what did I do? I took a screenshot of Paul's number and put Hannah's phone back exactly where I found it. Mission accomplished. Now, I could investigate this Paul guy on my own terms. Hannah returned, and I had to keep on the fake smile I plastered on for her. It felt like this was lasting forever, but finally it was over. After Hannah got her fake reassurance, we parted ways and went to our respective homes. Once I was safe and sound, I grabbed my own phone and dialed the number. The suspense was killing me, and I needed to know what was going on. Who was this Paul? And what was his connection to Hannah? My heart was pounding as I waited for him to answer. After snagging Paul's number from Hannah's phone, I decided it was time to make the call. I was home alone, surrounded by silence and a whole lot of suspense. My fingers dialed the digits and my heart was pounding like a drum. Hello, is this Paul? Yeah, who's this? With a deep breath, I launched into the heart of the matter. I asked him if he knew Hannah and Eric, and what he revealed had my jaw on the floor. Paul, the guy on the other end of the line, was Hannah's ex and Eric's father. Yeah, you heard me right. The plot was thicker than a Shakespearean drama, confirming my suspicions. Wait, so you're Eric's dad? Yeah, that's right. Why do you ask? Well, I'm Paulina and I'm with Sean. Hannah's my sister-in-law. The pieces started falling into place, and as I connected the dots, I realized what had happened. Hannah had meant to text Paul, not me. And in her haste or confusion, she had sent that text about wanting Paul nowhere near the wedding and denying him as Eric's real dad to me instead. Talk about a text message mix-up of epic proportions. I took a deep breath and shared the text message with Paul. Let me tell you, he was not happy. He was upset that Hannah had stooped so low as to deny him as Eric's real dad. But that wasn't all. He dropped a bombshell. He was still in love with her. Even after everything, he still had feelings for the woman who had caused so much confusion and chaos. Oh my God, this all makes sense now. Our names are so similar. Paulina and Paul. Yeah, I can see how that could happen. We've been fighting recently because I wanted to get back with her, but she's been denying me, talking big about this Bjorn guy who she's apparently in love with. I get not wanting to get back together, but lying about paternity? She's crazy. I don't even know how you had a baby with her. What can I say? Love can make you do stupid things. So now you think she's going to propose at your wedding, right? Unless there's another upcoming wedding she's referring to, I believe she's going to do it at mine, yes. Paul was cursing on the other line, frustrated no doubt. This was a lot to handle. I'm sorry you're dealing with all this, Paul. Yeah, it's a mess. After my little chat with Paul, I had a plan. A plan that involved turning the tables on Hannah and making her sweat for a change. Revenge, you say? Oh yeah, revenge never tasted so sweet. So instead of outright confronting Hannah with the news of my discovery, I decided to play it cool. Oh, but it wasn't just any cool, it was the calm before the storm. I told Paul that we would act like we knew nothing, that our revenge would be much sweeter if we stuck to the plan we were concocting. Let's play this smart, Paul. We're not giving her the satisfaction yet. I'm all in, Paulina. Let's make her squirm. After some more scheming and a bit of laughter, we hung up. Little did Hannah know that she had just activated her own downfall. Fast forward a month and it was the big day, the wedding day. Sean and I were all smiles after the ceremony, celebrating with friends and family. Everything was picture perfect, and even the weather was cooperating. I excused myself to freshen up during the reception, waiting patiently for the plan to fall into place, and sure enough, who should come waltzing in wearing that wicked grin of hers? None other than Hannah herself. Oh, Paulina, how's the newlywed life treating you? Oh, you know, just enjoying every moment. Well, I've got something up my sleeve too. Here it was, the moment of truth. Hannah was about to drop her bomb, and she was convinced that I would crumble. But you know what? Revenge had made me stronger, and I was ready. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to propose to Bjorn, and guess what, Paulina? There's absolutely nothing you can do to stop me. I'm going to steal your moment and embarrass you the same way you embarrass me. Oh, honey, are you still upset that I put you in your place? Put me in my place? You think I'm some kid or something? You know, I almost wanted to call it off. But now that you've said that, I'm going to propose and steal your thunder. Surprise, surprise, I didn't flinch. Instead, I let out a little chuckle that seemed to infuriate her even more. Revenge was sweet, but revenge with a side of calm. Now that was a whole new level. Well, Hannah, I'm truly impressed by your determination. Go ahead, do your thing. And just like that, she was left baffled, her wicked grin faltering as I brushed her off. She stuttered something about how embarrassed I would be, but I just waved her off as she stormed out of the room. Once she left, I called Paul and told him that the plan was a go and it was time to shine. After that cunning conversation with Paul and my oh-so-satisfying exchange with Hannah, it was time to put my plan into action, and let me tell you, I was ready to bring the house down. Leaving the room, I took a deep breath and headed back to the scene. Hannah had everyone's attention. She was up to something and she was about to make her big announcement. But there was one little thing she hadn't counted on: the storm that was about to hit. "Excuse me, everyone. Can I have your attention?" I caught her eyes, and my own smirk was a mirror of hers. But before she could dive into her speech about love and commitment, the doors burst open, causing a stir of commotion. Who else but Paul, storming into the hall like a tempest. "Hannah, we need to talk." In a matter of seconds, the room was buzzing with whispers and hushed conversations, everyone wondering what in the world was going on. Hannah's confident facade faltered as her face paled, clearly caught off guard by Paul's unexpected entrance. Desperate to regain control of the situation, Hannah attempted to divert the attention from the disturbance. She started spouting nonsense about the weather and some random anecdotes, but it was clear she was grasping at straws. As Hannah stammered through her attempt at damage control, I took my chance. With a determined stride, I marched up to her and snatched the microphone right out of her hand. The room fell silent, and all eyes were on me. "Thank you, Hannah. It's always great to hear your interesting stories." I saw confusion in Sean's eyes, Bjorn's eyes, and even in the eyes of everyone else in the room. This was it, the moment of truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're all curious about what's happening. Hannah was about to propose to her baby daddy, Bjorn, which is all well and good, and I'm so sorry for spoiling the moment, Bjorn, but I think it's important for everyone to know the truth. A hushed tension filled the room, and you could practically feel the collective curiosity of every single person there. The tension in the room was thicker than a stack of pancakes, and the spotlight was shining brightly on Hannah. Revenge was about to bring the truth to light, and oh boy, it was a sight to behold. Paul strode up to the stage, a force to be reckoned with, and he had the receipts to prove it. With a triumphant grin, he held up a stack of papers, paternity test results, and documents of child support payments showcasing that he was Eric's real dad. The room was so still you could hear a pin drop, and everyone's eyes were glued to the evidence in Paul's hands. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you as Eric's real father. And I wanted y'all to know that Hannah is one of the most despicable, conniving women I've ever met." To Bjorn. "Bro, I don't really know you, but Paulina and I thought it was best if you knew the truth before getting tied down to her, because I guarantee you, it's going to be hell." The gasps and whispers rippled through the crowd, and the shock was palpable. Hannah's face turned white as a sheet, and her eyes were wide with panic. She tried to snatch the microphone from Paul, but he held his ground. "Don't listen to any of this, he's lying." But the room wasn't buying it. Paulina and I had the stage now, and it was time to lay it all out on the table. I took a deep breath and addressed the room. "Hannah, looks like you got a lot of explaining to do." The crowd leaned in, hanging on to every word. Revenge was about to serve up its main course. the unvarnished truth. You see, we found out about Paul and his connection to Eric through an unexpected text message. I'd like to read that text for all of you. I revealed my phone and read out Hannah's text message, the one where she denied Paul's role as Eric's father and talked about her plan to propose to Bjorn. Oh boy, her face turned the brightest shade of red, and the realization of her own blunder hit her like a ton of bricks. The room erupted into a chorus of boos, hisses, and murmurs. The jig was up, and Hannah was exposed for the schemer she was. She crumbled before our eyes, tears streaming down her face as she finally faced the consequences of her actions. Meanwhile, Bjorn didn't utter a word. He simply turned on his heel and left the event, his anger and disappointment evident in every step. And as for Sean, well, he let loose a torrent of shouted accusations at Hannah for all her lies and deception, calling her down from the stage and giving her a verbal ear-beating. As the truth came crashing down, me and Paul shared a knowing look. Revenge had done its job, and Hannah's carefully constructed facade had crumbled to pieces. The entitlement, the attitude, it all fell away, leaving behind a woman who was finally facing the consequences of her actions. Hannah kept on looking at me with a look of pure disdain as Sean was shouting. The MC tried to do damage control by letting the guests return to their seats and get some more food. I blew a kiss and winked at Hannah, letting her know that she could never try and upstage me. One thing about me is that when people go low, I go even lower, all the way to hell. And that girl learned not to play with me that day, I'll tell you that. Turns out I had the perfect wedding after all. I married my husband, and I got some good entertainment